Salvati. Doobie-doobie-doo. 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 I'm your host, Sabrina Salvati. Doobie-doobie-doo. Salvati. All right. Welcome to Sabs podcast. I'm your host, Sabrina Salvati. If you are new, I want to let you know that Sabs podcast is a part of Revolutionary Blackout Network. You can catch me there on Tuesdays, Thursdays, and Fridays. And you can catch me here Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, and Friday. Shout out to everyone watching on YouTube, Rockfin, and Twitter. Usually when I start this show, I say, woohoo, happy Friday. But I think we can admit it has not been a happy Friday, considering the news that came out this morning. So I just couldn't do it tonight. I'm sorry, I couldn't say it. Couldn't do it. I want to give quick shout outs to people in the chat. But first and foremost, thank you to everyone who is a Sabby patron. All of their names are listed here. If you're interested in being a patron, I have 5 categories: members, Sabby, Sabsters, Sabinators, and Ultimate. Thank you guys so much. I really do appreciate your support. It really does go a long way. And you can also see their names scrolling across the bottom of the screen. So let's go ahead and get into it. What are we talking about tonight? Going to share my thumbnail here. All right. Tonight, we are discussing Hedges calls out Joe Biden. That is an interesting conversation. We're also going to discuss Stacey Abrams sells out. What is Stacey Abrams up to now? And why are people mad at her? And of course, if you have not heard, we are also going to discuss Roe v. Wade overturned. So those are the stories tonight. I want to give a quick chat check really quick. Shout out to Arthur Handy. Thank you so much for the super chat. Your girl Anna was again on that BS. The Dems won't bring change. We need a new strategy. I'll bet she's already walked it back. Yeah. These people are just playing games. They're playing games. Shout out to Delthea Simmons, says hello. She's a Sabby member. What's going on? Eric Gray says, as men, we have no right to tell a woman what to do with her body, period. End of story. Yes. And that's actually the discussion for the call-in show tonight after the stream. We're going to be talking about that Roe v. Wade overturned. And I want to hear from all of you. And I really want to hear some of the women call in because not many women call. It's usually guys. Shout out to Lawrence Johnson, who's also a Sabby member, says doobie-doobie-doo, door 2024. What's going on? Kim says, happy Friday, Sabby. Greetings, AJF says, hi, alls. Hi, all to you. What's going on? Gamer and Ganja for Life gives a shout out to Kim. What's going on? Notori says, solidarity and fire. Solidarity and fire. Woohoo! Greetings, Ben says, what's up, Sabby? Ben's also a Sabby member. I've had better mornings, Ben. I've had better mornings. That was not the good news to wake up to this morning. Shout out to Kenshi says, hey, Sabby boo. What's going on? Colin says, hey, Sabby. I know, Colin. I'm so frustrated. But nevertheless, we're going to do what we need to do. Leroy, what's up? Who's also a Sabby member, says the news is trash, y'all. Yes, the news has been terrible all day. But I have noticed more people on Twitter and other social media platforms calling out the Democrats about this decision as well. So I think more people are starting to wake up. Shout out to Sabby Sabs, says, hello, everyone. Greetings, Malik says, hey, love. Hello. Is it me you're looking for? JB and I were joking around about that video the other day. All right. Let's go ahead and get started. So I'm actually going to start with the Stacey Abrams story. Stacey Abrams, for those who do not know, yes, she is running for governor of Georgia again. And the other day, she tweeted something that really rubbed people the wrong way in reference to the police. Let's go ahead and look at it. So this is Stacey Abrams, guys. She says law enforcement are often paid less than a living wage, and that is wrong. We must raise the pay for officers and address violent crime as we work to build community trust and foster law enforcement accountability. So here is Stacey Abrams calling for us to fund the police. Stacey Abrams. People didn't like this too much. People weren't trying to feel it. She goes on. Law enforcement in urban, suburban, and rural areas across Georgia struggle with staffing shortages that put communities at risk. You know, that's interesting, Stacey, because I would argue, especially some of the footage that I've seen about the way police handle residents in Georgia, especially Atlanta, I would argue that the police actually put people in those communities at risk. But I digress. She goes on to say, higher officer pay will lead to better officer recruitment, better officer retention, better community interactions, and a safer Georgia. So let me ask you a question, Stacey. When you say here, higher officer pay will lead to better officer recruitment, are you admitting that the officers that you have are not good? Did anybody catch that? Better officer recruitment. Another thing I want to point out in this tweet, she says it will also lead to better officer retention, better community interactions, and a safer Georgia. No. What will lead to better community interactions, especially with those police officers, is having police officers that live in the community police the community. Because oftentimes that's not what happens. Most of the time, you have officers that come into these communities, especially Black neighborhoods. They don't live there. They don't know the people in the community. They don't understand the struggles of the people in the community. And they're the ones that come in and over police, and they don't create a safer community when you do that. That makes the people in the community not really like you and not want to be around you. And I've seen it firsthand. Again, for those of you who don't know, I was born in Baltimore. I lived there for 2 years. Since my parents were military, I moved around a lot. But my extended family is still in Baltimore. And I can tell you, based on what I've seen, especially in the city, the police that come into those neighborhoods do not live there. They over police and they treat people as suspects first. They hit people, police brutality. They plant drugs on people. You should look up the history of Baltimore police and you should see how many complaints they have. They act first and then they ask questions later. That's based on what I've seen. So Stacey Abrams, I want to make this very clear to you because I saw the Democratic Party, they really tried to pump her up when she ran last time. Stacey Abrams is not your friend. And I'm saying this to everybody, but I'm especially saying this to the Black community. Stacey Abrams is not your friend. See, the Democratic Party wants you to think she's your friend because she's Black like you. She's not. Stacey will sell you out in a minute. She goes on. Here's how I plan to do this. Raise base salary for state officers to $50K a year. Where's the push to give that salary to teachers? I got a question about that. Where's the push to give that salary to teachers in Georgia? Provide grants in localities to support increased salary for local law enforcement. Secure mental health support for law enforcement. You going to secure mental health support for people in the neighborhood? What about the people who are not cops? Everybody should have mental health support. You're going to preference the law enforcement. Where's the mental health support for the Black families that have been traumatized by the police? Where's that mental health support, Stacey? She's also going to invest in expanded training and collaborative support. So is Stacey Abrams admitting that they don't have enough training and these are the people that you're putting out into the field? We must also address the erosion of trust in law enforcement in our communities. Most officers strive to do their best, but those who commit misconduct must be held accountable. But Stacey, the system that's in place allows those who commit misconduct to not be held accountable. So how do you expect the people in the community to trust the law enforcement when the system that you have in place is not holding them accountable? Maybe you should address the system. In particular, the killing of young Black men who pose no threat cannot be ignored. Notice how she put that last? Oh my God, this woman. Thank you, George. All skin folk ain't kin folk. No. Angela said cops cause mental health issues. Thank you. This woman. She goes on to say she's also going to add or develop guidelines for police department policies that govern community relations and transparency. You mean to tell me the police department doesn't have any guidelines right now? This is laughable to me. There's more. Here's how I plan to do this. Part 2, require accountability for unlawful violence and misconduct. How are you going to do that, Stacey? These are just bullet points to me. Provide and maintain a statewide database of officers dismissed for violation of standards to help other law enforcement agencies make informed hiring decisions. You mean to tell me they don't do a background check before they hire them? This is Stacey Abrams saying the quiet part out loud. So you mean to tell me these police departments just hire officers and they don't do a background check on them? If they've been released from another police department, they don't contact that police department to see why they were released? This is some of the problems that we have with the system. This woman, she's like Jim Clyburn of Georgia. Now watch this. By making smart choices with our budget and enacting smart policy, we can build one Georgia with safe, thriving communities, and we can do so without raising taxes. And how did you know she was going to connect this to her campaign? Read my full plan here. She's laughable to me. Now, Stacey put out that tweet and people started to ask questions. Why is she bringing this up? Where is this coming from, Stacey? Let me show you where it's coming from. So as I mentioned, she's running for governor again. Apparently, Stacey Abrams has been attacked by her opponent for supporting defund the police. Now, I don't remember Stacey Abrams supporting defund the police, but she has already received an attack from her Republican opponent who won last time, who beat her in the governor race in Georgia. And let me show you how she chose to respond. This is not a good sign. Stacey Abrams pushes for raising police pay amid attack she wants to defund. You see how this goes? This woman cannot be trusted. Stacey Abrams, the Democratic candidate in this year's Georgia's gubernatorial race, announced on Thursday she would push for a raise for the base salaries of law enforcement if she wins the election. Again, if she wins the election. Do you see what's happening here? Abrams made the announcement on Twitter, where she also included a page on her website that detailed her policy plan. Her comments come after her opponent in November's election, the incumbent Republican Governor Brian Kemp, released an ad that claimed Abrams supports defund the police movement. Abrams has said she has never advocated for defunding law enforcement. I'm going to read this again. Now you know where that tweet came from. Governor Brian Kemp released an ad that claimed that Abrams supports defund the police movement. So, as a result of that, Stacey Abrams decided to put out a plan saying that she's going to fund the police. And this is how Democrats cave. Just like that. See, you don't see this happening with Republican candidates for the most part. It's Democrats that do this. Joe Biden did it. Bernie Sanders did it in 2020. This is what they do. They start getting these attack ads and then they say, oh, let me pull back. Let me be a little bit more moderate. How should Stacey Abrams have countered this? Not by saying, let's give the police more money. What Stacey Abrams could have said is, I never supported defund the police. But no, she got to go full-fledged Jim Clyburn and say, here's my detailed plan of how I'm going to give the police more money. Just like that, she caved. One attack ad and she already gave in. This is someone that the Democratic Party is heavily pushing. She's their golden ticket. If she loses again, I am going to laugh. Because again, these Democrat candidates, they keep thinking that the way they should win is by moving more and more to the center or more and more to the right, instead of talking about the needs for the everyday people. Stacey Abrams knows how Black communities, especially in Georgia, feel about the police. Rain said establishment Democratic Party has no fight. No, they don't. No fight at all. Do you think Marjorie Taylor Greene would cave to an attack ad? No. Do you think her opponent, if they said, oh, she's pro-life and she's a Trump supporter, do you think that would make Marjorie Taylor Greene come back with a statement that says, I am not a Trump supporter. In fact, I heavily support Joe Biden? No, she wouldn't do that. She's not going to budge on that. It's the Democrat candidates that cave. They're so busy trying to please the Republican Party, and it's true. They're so busy trying to please the Republican Party that they are willing to back down on their own freaking goals and policies. That's actually why we don't have Roe v. Wade codified into law. Because the Democratic Party was so busy trying to please the Republican Party and trying not to alarm the moderates and the centrists. That's why Obama didn't do it. That's why Bill Clinton didn't do it. And that's why Nancy Pelosi said we shouldn't focus on it. I'm going to get into that in a second. The Democratic Party are the ones that do it. You don't see the Republican Party in D.C. caving to what the Democrats want. For the most part, you don't see them budging on their positions, on their values, on their beliefs. They don't do it. It's the Democratic Party that caves. And why is that? Because both of those parties are right wing. That's why you never see the Republican Party move to the left. It's the Democrat Party that moves to the right. And just like that, you can do the cha-cha slide. Slide to the left, slide to the right, crisscross, reverse. Everybody clap your hands. I'm gonna go to some of these comments. Gamer says Stacey Abrams is a neo-lib clown. She is. I want people to stop saying that she's progressive because I'm seeing it on Twitter. She's not. She is Democrat establishment to the T. Thank you for the super chat, AJF. Look, the notion of liberty and freedom intrinsically means the acknowledgement of differences, choices, diversity of thought, creed, being who you are, with the acceptability of those factors. Bam. Thank you for this super chat as well. FFS, Stacey Abrams, you and Pelosi Democrats are the epitome of out of touchness, especially for an African-American politician. Shill. Cannot agree more. Thank you for the super sticker. Abiding 71. You have to tell me how that's pronounced. Is it Abiding or Aberdeen 71? Def MX says Stacey is trying to be DeSantis VP in 2024. Oh my God. Thank you for the super chat, Megan. Why do they always back down, double down, or move out of the way? Because they're just as much to the right. They have no guts. They have no balls. Like, I hate to say it that way, but they don't. Jared says it's the same donors. They both compete for the same oligarchs. That is true. Remember, I've showed you guys that. Rodrigo, Sabby, have you considered that now Stacey is a millionaire? She wants more police. Scared we'll come for her money. That could be a possibility as well. Yeah, thank you for mentioning that, Rodrigo. I don't know if everyone is aware of that, but yes, Stacey Abrams is a millionaire now. She wasn't before. Funny how that changed. So, in my opinion, I think you guys all know how I feel about the police situation. No, I don't think we need to give them more money. A lot of times they're standing around and they're not doing what they need to do. They're harassing people for things that they don't really need to be harassed for. Especially right now when we're living in late stage capitalism. And I want to show you an example of that. I want to show you what happened to this gentleman here. Now, this has been going around on Twitter. I retweeted this and I said, this is late stage capitalism. Now, here this gentleman is just asking if he can tow his car. Just get it towed. Watch how the police respond. Let me move this over to the right. This is also on TikTok as well, you guys. Let me make this bigger. Listen to this. This is so sad. And I know some of you are going to feel this guy's pain when you hear what he says here.
Let me push the fucking thing, man. Don't tow it away on me. Cost me money. I don't have any money, dude. Okay. I'm broke, man. My life sucks. I understand that. You're making it worse. Okay, I understand that, sir. But no, you don't. The vehicle is getting towed tonight, okay? So you need God damn, you all fucking suck. Okay. You all fucking suck. Okay. Are you suck? Are you done with that? Bad.
I just have to write it.
You suck. You're not nice. You're not cordial. You don't give a fuck about people like. Let me push the fucking thing, man.
Okay, my bad. Not that he was asking if he could tow it. They were trying to tow his car and he wanted to push it. You know, for those who don't know, if you've never had your car towed, I had to have my car towed twice, actually. Once because it broke down and another time because something happened with the tire and I didn't have a spare tire, but that's a whole different story. Anyway, when your car is towed, that costs money. It's expensive because you have to pay. They're probably going to give him a ticket. So you have to pay for the ticket. And then you have to get a ride to the tow truck place, wherever they took your car to, and then you have to pay to get your car back. You're looking at a couple of $100. I'm just going to tell you from experience. But how many of you listening to this story have felt this type of pain? You heard what he said? My life sucks. I felt this. I felt what he was saying. When you're rock bottom like that, you don't have the money He could have been able to call a friend. They could have let him call a friend and say, hey, can you help me get the car? This is late stage capitalism. This is what the police are doing with their time. When they're not harassing Black people, this is what they're doing with their time. They damn sure aren't saving any damn lives. I think we saw that pretty clear in Texas, right? No? Listen to him.
Let me push the fucking thing, man. Don't tow it away on me. Cost me money. I don't have any money, dude. I'm broke, man. My life sucks.
I understand that.
You're making it worse.
Okay, I understand that, sir. But
no, you don't.
the vehicle is getting towed tonight, okay? So you need
God damn, you all fucking suck.
Okay.
You all fucking suck.
Okay. Are you done with that?
Bad.
I just have to write his.
You suck. You're not nice. You're not cordial. You don't give a fuck about people like. Let me push the fucking thing, man. Don't tow it away on me. Cost me money.
See, he knows. Of course, the police officer is saying, I understand. Nah, do they? Do they really understand? I'd beg to differ. I felt sorry for that gentleman. Like I said, I know I've been there. I've been there. They could have let him go. It's little things like that. Like they could have let him go. But no, cops got a cop. Got to write a ticket. Got to meet that quota at the end of the month. Can't let this guy go, even though he told me he's poor and his life sucks. Probably could have found another way to get that car to where it needed to go. But welcome to America. So no, Stacey Abrams, like I said, I'm gonna laugh if she loses again. I am going to laugh. All right, let's go into my next story, which is actually, I didn't mean to go into this one next. No, we can go ahead and do it next. We need to talk about what happened today at the Supreme Court. So let's go ahead into this. I have a couple of clips I want to show you about this as well. So this was the news that I woke up to this morning. Oh, and by the way, after they announced this, I received a text message from a Democrat candidate asking me for money. Help us save Roe v. Wade. Donate to my campaign. I don't even know who this guy is. Who is this person? Let me see. Who is this person? Okay, here's the message. I don't know if you guys can see. Woo. Probably not too well. Anyway. Oh, yeah, the thing's in the way. This is the message. Hi. The Supreme Court just overturned Roe v. Wade. They were fast, weren't they? There is now no question that we need a 51st vote in the Senate to abolish the filibuster and make Roe the law of the land. Mandela Barnes will be the 51st vote, but he won't get the chance to cast that vote unless we win in Wisconsin. Again, I don't even know who the hell this is, okay? Can you please make a $3 contribution to elect Mandela Barnes to the Senate? We need him to be the deciding vote to end the filibuster and codify Roe into law. No, I cannot donate $3 to Mandela, whoever the hell he is. No, I can't. Sorry, you're not getting my money again. Instead of donating to politicians, because you guys might be getting these messages and these emails as well, donate that money to some type of abortion fund. And they're going around. I've already seen them on Facebook and Twitter. Donate your money to that. Because even if this dude, whoever he is, even if he wins, they're going to come. It's going to be another reason why they can't end the filibuster. Watch. It'll be somebody else who will be the rotating villain. So no. Keep your money in your pocket or donate it to an abortion fund. But let's go ahead and get into this story. So the Supreme Court has voted to overturn abortion rights. Draft opinion shows. Here we go. The Supreme Court has voted to strike down the landmark Roe v. Wade decision, according to an initial draft majority opinion written by Justice Samuel Alito, circulated inside the court and obtained by Politico. Man, Politico was on it. Have you guys noticed that? Politico, as soon as a story comes out, they're like, boom, write that article in 5 minutes. The draft opinion is a full-throated, unflinching repudiation of the 1973 decision, which guaranteed federal constitutional protections of abortion rights, and a subsequent 1992 decision, Planned Parenthood versus Casey, that largely maintained the right. Roe was egregiously wrong from the start. Now that comes from Alito. We hold that Roe and Casey must be overruled. It is time to heed the Constitution and return the issue of abortion to the people's elected representatives. And that was the first draft there. Now I want to go down here. It's really sad, you guys. A person familiar with the court's deliberations said that 4 of the other Republican-appointed justices, Clarence Thomas, clown, Neil Gorsuch, Brett Kavanaugh, clown number 2, and Amy Coney Barrett, clown number 3, had voted with Alito in the conference held among the justices after hearing oral arguments in December. And that lineup remains unchanged as of this week. Let me go down here. There's another part I want to show you. Politico received a copy of the draft opinion from a person familiar with the court's proceedings in the Mississippi case, along with other details supporting the authenticity of the document. The draft opinion runs 98 pages, including a 31-page appendix of historical state abortion laws. The document is replete with citations to previous court decisions, books, and other authorities, and includes 118 footnotes. The appearances and timing of the draft are consistent with court practice. Going to go down here as well. Exceptionally weak. A George W. Bush appointee who joined the court in 2006, Alito argues that 1973 abortion rights ruling was an ill-conceived and deeply flawed decision that invented a right mentioned nowhere in the Constitution and unwisely sought to wrench the contentious issue away from the political branches of government. Alito's draft ruling would overturn a decision by the New Orleans-based Fifth Circuit Court of Appeals that found the Mississippi law ran afoul of Supreme Court precedent by seeking to effectively ban abortions before viability. So let me go here. This inescapable conclusion is that a right to abortion is not deeply rooted in the nation's history and traditions. That comes from Alito as well. So I'm not going to read the entire article. It's pretty long. You get the story. You get the gist of it, of what's going on here. And what I want to say is this. I really cannot believe that in 2022, we are going backwards in this country. Look at all the things they're trying to take away. And I'm going to tell you the problem with handing it over to the states in just a second. Censorship. They're trying to censor people. They're trying to take away free speech. They're trying to tell people where we can protest, how we can protest, when we can protest. And now they're overturning Roe v. Wade. I'm really wondering if they're going to come after gay marriage. Now, I don't really know all the details surrounding that, but the way things are going. Now, I want to tell you the problem with handing it over to the states. The problem is that different states are going to have different restrictions around abortion. Some states, and I can tell you as someone who lived in the South, some of the states in the South are going to make it a lot harder for you to have one than, let's say, my state, Massachusetts. They're going to make it very difficult. Some states some states may make it a criminal activity. They may criminalize abortion. Then you can say, well, tell that woman not to have an abortion in that state. Okay, now she travels across state lines and has an abortion in another state. But her home state can make it criminal for you to cross state lines and get an abortion in another state. This is what I think some people are not thinking about. The women that are going to be the most affected by this are going to be women who are poor, women who are working class, and women who are Black. Let's just keep it real. Wealthy women are not going to have an issue with this so much. They may be not happy with the decision, but they'll find ways to have an abortion in a safe manner. If you have the money, they can go to Canada, they can go to Mexico, they can go to another country and get a safe abortion because they have the money to afford to do it. This is a class issue. And see, for years, this has been painted as a left-right issue. But it's really a class issue when you really deeply look at it. And it's really sad. This is why I don't support turning it over to the states, because I already know what's going to happen. So how does that work out for people who don't have the money? How does it work out for someone who's sexually assaulted and gets pregnant? And some of you are going to say, oh, well, no state is going to make them require have that baby. I've lived in some of these states, I'm telling you. This is also a healthcare issue. Abortion is a part of healthcare. This is not going to stop women from having abortions. Even when abortions were illegal, they were still having them. My biggest concern is that for the women who are poor and working class, they're not going to be able to have safe abortions. They're going to put their own lives at risk. This is the problem. I just don't understand what's happening in this country. I told CJ from RBN, I told him earlier today, I said, I don't feel safe. I don't feel safe in this country. Look at how they can just take away. What is next? Now, of course, there are many people protesting. Kudos to all of you out there. Plenty in DC. There's protests in New York City. There's protests in Boston tonight. Shout out to all of you out there fighting the fight. And I want to give a shout out to Chuck Modi. Chuck Modi, he's always on the ground in DC. And he saw someone there protesting, someone that you might recognize if you used to watch a TV show. Chuck Modi happened to come across Tatiana Ali. I want you to hear what she had to say. Now, for those who don't know, Tatiana Ali, she's known as her role as Ashley on The Fresh Prince of Bel-Air. Listen to what she had to say about the two-party system, because this right here, I was like, yes, Chuck, I'm so glad you got this on video. Listen to what she says.
I came out here because I've been involved in political activism since I was in my 20s. And I've gone into communities all across this country, generating votes, you know, from the Black community and from Black women in particular, to elect politicians to places of power. And because I really believed that that community that we were building, you know, that the Democratic Party was building, was going to do great things. And that was in my 20s. And then I came to realize that once they get into positions of power, they forget about us and they forget about our needs. And the things that are most sacred to us are still left on the chopping block. And I have found a home in organizations like Sister Song, like Black Feminist Future, organizations, reproductive justice organizations. So they have healed things that have happened to me, to my body, by the medical system. And
okay, I'm not going to play the whole thing, But I want you to pay attention to something she said earlier on about how she used to feel about the Democratic Party and how she felt as she got older. So she talks about how she felt about them in her 20s, and then she talks about what she found out.
Political activism since I was in my 20s, and I've gone into communities all across this country, generating votes, you know, from the Black community and from Black women in particular, to elect politicians to places of power. And because I really believed that that community that we were building, you know, that the Democratic Party was building, was going to do great things, and that was in my 20s. And then I came to realize that once they get into positions of power, they forget about us, and they forget.
She said she realized that once they get into positions of power, they forget about us. They come into the Black community to get votes, and she was one of the people that was active in doing that. I was one of the people that was active in doing that. And then, like her, I started to see they're really not doing anything for us once they actually win. They don't really try to like help the Black community. They just come to the Black community because they need Black votes. And then you never see them again until it's time for them to get reelected. That's how it works.
About our needs, and the things that are most sacred to us are still left on the chopping block. And I have found a home in organizations like Sister Song, like Black Feminist Future, organizations, reproductive justice organizations. So they have healed things that have happened to me, to my body, by the medical system. And I've learned over the course of my life that the solution is in community. And so that.
You heard what she said? She learned in her life that the solution is within the community, not through the two-party system. And so kudos to Chuck Nody. I'm so glad you got this interview. I'm so glad that she said that, because too many times I see celebrities heavily pushing the Democratic Party or heavily pushing the Republican Party, still keeping you in the duopoly, right? And then here comes Tatiana Ali, and she was always smart. She was always smart. And she tells you the solution is in your community. And that's what we continue to say at RBN. This is what we're trying to show you. You heard her also say, too, that she had, I guess, had to deal with some medical issues, and she was mistreated in the medical field. And she's famous. So what does that tell you about our healthcare system in this country? What's that, Miguel? She was always the smart one in the family. She was, but in real life too. Like she always kind of had her head on straight. So thank you so much for Chuck Modi for capturing that. That was awesome. I was glad to see that. But there's more to be said. And I want to give a shout out to Ryan Knight, because Ryan always nails it every time. Ryan came in and he said Barack Obama promised to codify Roe on day one of his presidency and then walked it back after he was sworn in. This is why our country keeps moving further right. Democrats don't fight for their promises while the Republicans do. And for those of you who may have forgotten, you know, Ryan was just so helpful here to include a video just in case you forgot what Obama said. Here we go.
Well, the first thing I'd do as president is sign the Freedom of Choice Act. That's the first thing that I... Now, the Freedom of Choice Act is not my highest legislative priority. Well, the first thing I'd do as president is sign the Freedom of Choice Act. That's the first thing that I... Now, the Freedom of Choice Act is not my highest legislative priority. Well, the first thing I'd do is...
That was 2007. That's when he was running for president. He said not only would he do it, but it would be the first thing that he would do, sign the Freedom of Choice Act. He wins in 2008. He comes back, changes course.
President is sign the Freedom of Choice Act. That's the first thing that I... Now, the Freedom of Choice Act is not my highest legislative priority.
What? Follow Ryan Knight on Twitter. I want more people to share this video because I think some people forgot. Because I mentioned this to some people today and they were like, did Obama really say? I was like, oh, yes, he did. Thank you, Ryan, for that video. Thank you so much, because I want people to understand that even though the Republicans are the ones who voted in favor of overturning Roe v. Wade, we always know anyway that the Republican Party is not pro-choice. That's something that we know. It's been in our face, right? What some of us have not been paying attention to is some of these Democrat candidates that said they were going to fight for abortion. Once they got into office, they said it's not a priority. And he told you, not a priority, sorry. Roe v. Wade could have been codified into law during Obama's presidency. So there you go. But he's not the only one. We also got to point our fingers at Miss Nancy Pelosi, because I don't know if she seemed to have forgotten, but I did not. Now, this is 2017. I want to remind you of this. Pelosi, Democratic candidates should not be forced to toe party line on abortion. Pelosi, abortion is fading as an issue within the Democratic Party. 2017. So this is years after Obama presidency. In 2017, Trump is the president. What also happened? So you had a Republican president. Here you are, part of the Democratic Party, and you're saying abortion is a fading issue. And then just like that, Trump brought in Amy Barrett, and we all knew what she was brought in to do. So the Democratic Party, they sat on this issue for years. I'm going to show you a little speech by her today, too, which is pretty funny because she looks like a clown now. For years. She went on to say, this is the Democratic Party. This is not a rubber stamp party. I grew up, Nancy D'Alessandro, in Baltimore, Maryland, in Little Italy, in a very devout Catholic family, fiercely patriotic, proud of our town and heritage, and staunchly Democratic. Most of those people, my family, extended family, are not pro-choice. You think I'm kicking them out of the Democratic Party? If that was not foreshadowing, because what else has Nancy done recently? She flew to Texas with Jim Clyburn to support Henry Cuellar, who is anti-choice, over the candidate who was pro-choice. Now, Nancy Pelosi, she wants to get up here with this corny ass speech as if we have all forgotten. Listen to what she has to say. This woman is a clown show. Look at her face. That's the face of guilt. This woman looks guilty. She has some nerve.
This is deadly serious, but we are not going to let this pass. A woman's right to choose, reproductive freedom, is on the ballot in November. We cannot allow them to take charge so that they can institute their goal, which is to criminalize reproductive freedom, to criminalize it. Right now, they're saying in states that
why is her face, her jaw so tight? Why is her jaw so taut? It's like
they can arrest doctors and all the rest. What is happening here? What is happening here? Woman's fundamental health decisions are her own to make in consultation with her doctor, her faith, her family, not some right-wing politicians that Donald Trump and Mitch McConnell packed the court with. While Republicans seek to punish and control women, Democrats will keep fighting ferociously to enshrine Roe v. Wade into law.
When were you fighting, Nancy? Let it finish. I'm going to come back in.
Of the land. This cruel ruling is outrageous and heart-wrenching, but make no mistake, again, it's all on the ballot in November. The Supreme Court has ended a constitutional right. This is 50 years proclaimed a constitutional right. What happened today was historic in many respects. Historic in that it had not recognized a constitutional right and then reversed it. This is a first.
Let's pay attention to something she said here.
This is deadly serious, but we are not going to let this pass. A woman's right to choose reproductive freedom is on the ballot in November.
And that's what this was all about. And what did I tell you a couple of weeks ago? That I honestly believed that this was a card that the Democratic Party held in their back pocket for when they needed it the most. And I believe that's the reason why they didn't codify Roe v. Wade into law when they had opportunities to do so. Now they see that Joe Biden is tanking in the polls and he continues to decrease and decline. They see that people are not happy with the current Democrat leadership. They see they're about to lose the House and possibly the Senate in November. And they're already trying to push Joe Biden out in 2024 and put somebody else in his place that they think has a better chance and does not have cognitive decline. This was all a part of the plan. Now they have the abortion card that they're going to pull that card out of their back pocket. They're going to pop it down on the table and they're going to tell you, if you want to have a chance to be able to have Roe v. Wade codified into law, you're going to have to vote for the Democrat. And this is the game that they continue to play with us. They hold our rights hostage from us to get a vote. How fucked up can you be? That is so cruel. This is what they're doing. They have nothing else. They have nothing else, you guys. What have they done? They won't give you health care. They don't want to give you paid parental leave. They don't want to give you a living wage. They wouldn't even raise the minimum wage to $15 an hour. They have nothing. This is what they had to use. Oh, well, you mean to tell me you didn't know when Amy Coney Barrett came in and she was put on the Supreme Court, you knew exactly what she was put there to do? How could you sit all this time and do nothing? And they sat on their hands and they waited. And now they're trying to play the American people. And wait for it, by the way. Wait for it, by the way, because I'm going to tell you right now, you know what else is going to happen? For all of you that say, we're not voting in the two-party system, or I don't want to vote for Democrats. And I'm letting you know right now, I'm not voting in the two-party system. So they're already going to blame me, but I'm used to taking the heat. But I want to warn you, you know what's going to happen? People are going to shame you. They're going to smear you and say, you're going to be the reason why women don't get their rights back. Watch. They do it every time. They use some type of fear against you to make you feel guilty. I know, because that's exactly why some people voted for Hillary Clinton, even though they hated Hillary Clinton. You better vote for Hillary, otherwise we're going to get Trump. We got Trump any damn way. Better not vote for Bernie Sanders. He's not going to be able to beat Trump, and then you get Trump again. So we got Joe Biden. How's that working out?
We cannot allow them to take charge so that they can institute their goal, which is to criminalize reproductive freedom.
But if Nancy Pelosi felt that way, then why in 2017, why did you say this is not going to be something that we're going to focus on? If you felt that this issue was that important, why did you push it to the side?
Criminalize it. Right now, they're saying in states that they can arrest doctors and all the rest. What is happening here? What is
This woman is fake. Look at her. She has nothing else to say. She don't know what to say. She look like a clown. You look like a fool.
happening here? Woman's fundamental health decisions are her own to make in consultation with her doctor, her faith, her family, not some right-wing politicians of Donald Trump and Mitch McConnell.
What about the Democrat politicians that Nancy Pelosi supported who were anti-choice? Mention that, Nancy. Why don't you mention how you support Henry Cuellar, who was also anti-choice, and you had a candidate who was running against him who was pro-choice? That shows you just how much she cares about this issue. She don't care about this issue. She only given this speech because she was forced to give this speech. Look at her face. She looks like a clown.
Pack the court with. While Republicans seek to punish and control women, Democrats will keep fighting ferociously to enshrine Roe v. Wade into law of the land. This cruel ruling is outrageous and heart-wrenching, but make no mistake, again, it's all on the ballot in November. The Supreme Court has ended a constitutional right. This is 50 years proclaimed a constitutional right. What happened?
I can't do it again to you guys. Again, all on the ballot in November. That's what this is all about. That's how they're going to keep you in the Democratic Party. That's what this is all about. There's no other thing we should do right now other than hit the streets. They're playing us for fools. Like they really played us for fools. We got to get out in the street. That's it. We need a general strike. I've said this before. There's more. Because there's something that I do want to remind everyone in case you may have forgotten. And thank you so much for this, Mr. Holding Biden Accountable. He makes a very good point. If you're upset about the recent Supreme Court rulings and you're wondering how we got here, Google Joe Biden and Anita Hill. And I'm glad he posted this because there is something I do want to remind everyone. The reason why Clarence Thomas is sitting on the Supreme Court is because Joe Biden would not let Anita Hill's witnesses testify. It was him. He was the one who prevented them from speaking, and Anita Hill had evidence against Clarence Thomas. If you go back and you watch those hearings and you watch the way that Joe Biden treated Anita Hill, it's absolutely disgusting. I don't know how Anita Hill feels today. I do know she's also in Massachusetts like me. I tried to get in touch with her one time before because I would really like her to come on for this conversation. I don't know. Maybe she's not allowed to talk about it anymore. I don't know. But the reason why Clarence Thomas is there and he was there to make that vote is because of Joe Biden, him. So I just want to remind you, when you're talking about women's rights, the right for an abortion, I want to remind you that Clarence Thomas sexually harassed Anita Hill in the workplace multiple times. She had witnesses and she had evidence. Clarence Thomas does not value women. Clarence Thomas gives zero fucks about treating women with any kind of respect or decency. Oh, and his wife knew about it. I'm going to add that piece in there too. This is what I keep telling people. A lot of these things, a lot of the problems and issues that we have right now, if you do the research, they lead back to Joe Biden. Now, Joe Biden did decide to give a little speech today. I'm not going to play that entire speech. I can only take so much of the Joe. But there was something he said that I thought was rather comical. He knew that there were going to be some type of protest, obviously. Listen to what he said, because this is comical coming from him.
I call on everyone, no matter how deeply they care about this decision, to keep all protests peaceful. Peaceful, peaceful, peaceful. No intimidation. Violence is never acceptable. Threats and intimidation are not speech. We must stand against violence in any form, regardless of your rationale. I call on everyone, no matter how deeply they care about this decision, to keep all protests peaceful. Peaceful, peaceful, peaceful. No intimidation. Violence is never acceptable. Threats and intimidation are not speech. We must stand against violence in any form, regardless of your rationale.
Let's talk about something for a second. You know, it's really interesting to me that this came from Joe Biden. That remark that violence is never acceptable. That was interesting. This coming from someone who has spent his entire political career inflicting violence on the American people. This coming from the same man who spent years inflicting violence on Black communities because of his crime bill. This comes from the man who inflicted violence on women himself. Somebody call Tara Reid. The same man who wouldn't even let Anita Hill's witnesses testify. So no, Joe, you don't get, first of all, you really don't get to tell us how to handle a damn thing when it comes to this situation. You're going to tell other people to be peaceful. When have you been peaceful to us? He's been a politician for over 40 years. What has he done? Zero respect for women. You can't keep your hands off kids' hair. And you preaching on the floor that you don't care about Black communities, about the people, where they came from, and what kind of upbringing they had. You wanted them off the streets. You said you did not care. And right now, he's inflicting economic violence on all of us. Every other week, he's giving more and more money to Ukraine, but he can't give us anything here to the American people. That is economic violence. And I want all of you to understand that. Food shortage, baby formula shortage. We all don't have health care. People are boggled down with medical debt, student loan debt. America is crumbling. We are in late stage capitalism. So how can someone who spent decades inflicting violence upon people through legislation, which is even worse, by the way, how can he tell us how to behave now? Now, when we talk about funding the police, I want to remind you that Joe Biden, he knew what was coming. He knew that the Supreme Court was going to try to overturn Roe v. Wade when Amy came in. He watched the protests that happened across the world after George Floyd. And so Joe Biden said, I'm going to fund the police more, because he knew what was coming. And this is an image of what I saw earlier today, right outside the Supreme Court. Look at how they've militarized the police. Yeah, again. Look at that. Capitol Police. Doesn't that look familiar? Capitol Police. Look, they had buses. They had riot gear. Capitol Police. Remember when there was that legislation that went through where they wanted to fund the Capitol Police more, and it passed, and the squad sat up there and voted for it? This is what they wanted. He knew what was coming. He was preparing you. Look. What is this? Is this the empire? This looks like something you would see in Star Wars. This is the empire. Joe Biden is Darth Vader. Where's the Jedis? Because we don't have any. I don't see any. Thank you, Colin. Exactly. Remember, the squad voted for that. This is what you have now. This is what it was all coming down to. This is why I want you to understand why it was so important for him to make sure that he funded the police more. And by the way, that bill passed very quickly, no problem. It's only the bills that are for the people that take forever to even be brought to the floor. And then they fail. What are they there to do? They know what's coming. This is nothing. This is nothing. Let me tell you what we are seeing right now about abortion. Economics is next. Trust me. This isn't the end of it. And that's why they're trying to fund these police, because they know the American people are livid. And it's a damn shame. I'm going to go to some of the comments and then I'll go to our next story. Thank you for the super chat, Andrew. I bet $7.50 the squad will give a good speech. The TYT crowd will eat it up, but the squad will do nothing. JK, they won't. And you can keep the $7.50. Thank you so much for that, Andrew. Mental Honey, this is exactly what Dems wanted. Now they can fearmonger everyone with to vote because of January 6th and Roe v. Wade. Exactly. Thank you for this super chat, Andrew. Mandela Barnes is the lieutenant governor of Wisconsin. What the hell? Okay. I didn't know who the guy was. Don't know why they're texting me, though. I don't live in Wisconsin. Thanks for the super chat, AJF. A lot can explain the Democrats' behavior by accepting this. They are not Democrats. Prime example, Obama admitted it in 2012 Univision interview. I think someone was trying to call me. That's weird. Sab, share YouTube, this Univision News Obama. I have to check that out. Thank you for the super chat, Colin. Biden is urging people to vote more Democrats when Pelosi et al. Campaigned for Queller anti-abortion, and Biden said he's not prepared to abolish the filibuster. Dems are a joke. Well said, Colin. My gangrene thumb, who's a Sabby member, says, of course, they'll come after LGBTQ rights. They will make abortion a crime at the federal level. All 50 states, they consider abortion murder, probably retroactively. Shout out to Makwa for becoming a YouTube member. Whoop, whoop. Whoop, whoop. Thanks for the super sticker, Delthea. Black women die in childbirth at 3 times the rate of white women. Both Beyonce and Serena, healthy and wealthy women, came close to dying while having babies. Abortion rights are rights to life. Thank you so much for that. Well said, Delthea. Thank you for the super chat, AJF. I argue it's not LS capitalism. It is the American exaltation of self. What you can muster to pay to participate in society, your wealth is what your wealth amount is. Note, police versus poor white. That's a good point, AJF. Thanks for the super chat, Andrew. Oh, if Uncle Phil heard what Ashley is saying. That's right, I know, right? Because didn't Uncle Phil run for office at some point? I remember that. Nadia, Sabby Sabs, a huge group of Democrats were singing and cheering today while the protesters were protesting against the ruling. I noticed that. I was like, what is a song going to do? What is this song going to do? Thanks for the super chat, Colin. The Democrats are true grifters. And thanks for this super chat, Ideator. Kente Cloth 2.0. Right? Thanks for the super sticker, Debs Mo, who's a Sabby member. Whoop, whoop. JB Fonts in the house. They never cared about this issue. It was just a way to fundraise while using the Republicans as the boogeyman. Well said, JB. And shout out to Egg64. A constituent helped is a constituent lost. The same way the health insurance lobby sees us, guaranteed fundraising for the DNC is about to be nuts. I agree. Thanks for this super chat, Colin. My mom used to tell me whenever a person's face is twisted like that, they are possessed by a demon. Probably true for Pelosi. Thanks for the super chat, LPA Beck. This reversal is going to hurt low-income women. This is taking the country back to the Middle Ages. I agree. Thanks for the super chat, Colin. Violence is not speech for the poors, but it's okay for the elites, basically. How dare we get upset? Thank you for the super chat, Ashura. Dems having Roe v. Wade in their back pocket is like Anna Kasparian trying to Me Too Jimmy instead of codifying the law. Interesting. Thanks for the super chat as well. Why is Joe not on the offender list? Hashtag creepy Joe. Thanks for the super chat. Oz! Sabby burning it up. You go, girl. Oh, thank you, Oz. And thanks for the super chat, Larez. Democrats had both chambers of Congress at the start of Carter's, Clinton's, Obama's, and Biden's administrations, yet didn't codify Roe v. Wade. Right? I forgot about Carter. Thank you for mentioning that one. Thanks for the super chat, Justin. Biden is Senator, now Emperor Palpatine. Oh, I could see that. For those of you who haven't seen Star Wars, you might be like, what the hell are they talking about? But if you haven't seen Star Wars, watch Star Wars, please. That's one of my favorite series of all time. JB said, yes, Sabby, the U.S. government is the evil empire. Biden is Vader and the oligarchs are the emperor. Thanks for the super chat, Ashura. If Trump did this, you wouldn't hear the end of it. Oh, you would not. Thanks for the super chat, Harry. How long till someone blames Putin for this? Oh, you know, they'll find a way too. Or Susan Sarandon, they'll blame her. Thanks for the super chat, Tristan. We talk about Nazi stormtroopers from the 1930s and 40s. Look at the modern version of these stormtroopers. Reality is worse than movie fantasy. Thank you for all of those. I want to go ahead and get started with this Chris Hedges story here. So Chris Hedges, this video I saw of him was posted yesterday, actually. So I was right on it. But I want you to hear something he says in this. He's going to talk about Joe Biden and he's going to tell you exactly what you got for voting for Joe Biden. Listen to this, because I think he really hits the nail on the head.
Simplified morality play used in professional wrestling. There are only two real political positions in the United States. You love Trump or you hate him, which comes from the playbook of professional wrestling. But if you voted for Biden and the Democratic Party, you did vote for something. You voted to endorse the humiliation of courageous women such as Anita Hill, who confront their abusers. You voted for the architects of the endless wars in the Middle East. You voted for the apartheid state of Israel. You voted for wholesale surveillance of the public by government intelligence agencies and the abolition of due process and habeas corpus. You voted for austerity programs, including the destruction of welfare and cuts to Social Security. You voted for NAFTA, free trade deals, deindustrialization, a real decline in wages.
Hold on for 1 second. He mentioned something there about Social Security. I'm going to show you something about that after this clip. But so far, based on what he said, where's the lie? There isn't one. I'll let him continue.
The loss of hundreds of thousands of manufacturing jobs and the offshoring of jobs to underpaid workers who toil in sweatshops in Mexico, China, or Vietnam. You voted for the assault on teachers and public education and the transfer of federal funds to for-profit and Christian charter schools. You voted for the doubling of our prison population.
As someone who was an educator, that part is really upsetting to me because public school funding comes from property taxes. And I continue to see them create more and more charter schools, and kids have to test into those schools. You don't just get into it. You have to test into it. In some cases, you still have to be selected to go there. So charter schools should never have been the answer for a child to receive better education. What they should have done was fix the public school system that we have. And how do you do that? You stop funding public schools based on property taxes, and you let the federal government fund the public schools. And that way everybody can have a decent education. But you shouldn't only have that right based on your zip code, and you shouldn't only have that right based on the fact that you can test into this charter school. So that one really, with Biden, I couldn't.
The tripling and quadrupling of sentences and huge expansion of crimes meriting the death penalty. You voted for militarized police who gunned down poor people of color with impunity. You voted against the new Green Deal, the Green New Deal, and immigration reform.
Yes, I want to remind you, Joe Biden still does fracking. So even though Joe Biden, during his press conferences, he'll say that obviously he cares about the climate, but his actions don't show that he cares about the climate. Fracking is one of the worst things that you can do. Also, the military industrial complex. So if he's continuing to bomb people abroad, that is creating more pollution. That is causing more pollution in the environment. That's globally, not just in the United States. So every time he says that, I want you to remember that.
You voted for the fracking industry. You voted for a segregated public school system in which the wealthy receive educational opportunities and poor people are denied a chance.
Yep.
You voted for punitive levels of student debt and the inability to free yourself of those debt obligations, even if you file for bankruptcy. You voted for deregulating the banking industry and the abolition of Glass-Steagall. You voted for the for-profit insurance and pharmaceutical corporations and against universal health care. You voted.
I just want to answer this question really quick, Ashura. Are charter schools for the rich? No, they're not for the rich. But the way it works is the child has to test into the school. So what happens is the charter schools they end up taking the smartest kids. Why we can argue with smart, but they end up taking the students that are high level test takers. They end up taking those students to the charter school, and all the other students are still left behind at the underfunded and under-resourced schools. That's how charter schools work. You have to test into it.
Voted for defense budgets that consume more than half of all discretionary spending. You voted for the use of unlimited oligarchic and corporate money to buy elections. And you voted for a politician who, during his time in the Senate, abjectly served the interests of MBNA, the largest independent credit card company headquartered in Delaware, which also employed Biden's son, Hunter. Biden was one of the principal architects of the wars in the Middle East, where we have squandered upwards of $7 trillion and destroyed or extinguished the lives of millions of people. Biden is responsible for far more suffering and death at home and abroad than Trump. And if we had a functioning judicial and legislative system, Biden, along with the other architects of our disastrous imperial wars, corporate plundering of the country, and betrayal of the American working class, would be put on trial. Not all.
1 second, Samantha, my daughter goes to charter school and never had to test in. I applied and got her in. Maybe it's different state by state, but here in Massachusetts, or at least in the Boston area, you have to test in. That's how they accept them. But I don't think you should have to apply to go to school either. Just fix the damn schools.
Offered up as a solution to our political and economic debacle. The Democrats and their liberal apologists adopt tolerant positions on issues regarding race, religion, immigration, women's rights, and sexual identity, and pretend this is politics.
They lead with identity politics. Yes. So they'll be good on the social issues, but they fail on the economic issues.
These issues are societal or ethical issues, and they are important. but they are not social or political issues.
My bad.
The seizure of control of the economy by a class of global speculators and corporations has ruined the lives of the very groups the Democrats pretend to lift up. When Bill Clinton and the Democratic Party, for example, destroyed the old welfare system, 70% of the recipients were children.
Yeah.
Those on the right of the political spectrum, and we must never forget that the positions of the Democratic Party would make it a far-right party in Europe, demonize those on the margins of society as scapegoats. These culture wars mask the reality. Both parties are full partners in the destruction of our democratic institutions.
Both. Not one over the other, both. Because when it comes to, again, the economic issues, who do they look out for first? Wall Street, corporations, the banks. These are things I've seen happen in my adult life. Obama, 2008, housing crisis. Who did he look out for first? Wall Street. Who are they looking out for now? They're really not looking out for us. They're helping people in Ukraine. They're not helping people right here in the United States. That's how little they care about us.
Both parties have reconfigured American society into a mafia state. It only depends on how you want it dressed up. The power of politicians such as Nancy Pelosi, Chuck Schumer, or Mitch McConnell comes from being able to funnel corporate money to anointed candidates. In a functioning political system, one not saturated with corporate cash, they would not hold power.
See the difference? And notice how he said that they are anointed. And that's true. They were chosen. They were selected.
They have transformed what the Roman philosopher Cicero called a commonwealth, a res publica, a public thing, or the property of a people, into an instrument of pillage and repression on behalf of a global corporate oligarchy. We are serfs ruled by the obscenely rich, omnipotent masters who loot the US Treasury, pay little or no taxes, and have perverted the judiciary, the media, and the legislative branches of government to strip us of civil liberties and give them the freedom to engage in tax boycotts, financial fraud, and theft.
I just want to say we have over 900 people watching. Holy shit. Be sure to hit that like button, you guys. I know I don't say it as smooth as CJ does, but be sure to hit that like button. That really helps me with the algorithm.
In the midst of the pandemic crisis, what did our ruling kleptocrats do? They looted $4 trillion on a scale unseen since the 2008 bailout overseen by Barack Obama and Joe Biden. They gorged and enriched themselves at our expense, while tossing crumbs out of the windows of their private jets, yachts, penthouses, and palatial estates to the suffering and despised masses. The CARES Act handed trillions in funds or tax breaks to oil companies, the airline industry, which alone got $50 billion in stimulus money, the cruise.
I just want to add something there about the CARES Act. That's something that I've noticed when people interview politicians about, and they ask that question, what has Joe Biden done for the American people? It's usually Ro Khanna. I'm just going to be real. That's usually who goes onto these interviews. And the response is, oh, the American Rescue Plan. And they mention all these different things that really didn't help us, to be honest. I really want someone to push back and mention the CARES Act and how that money actually helped the corporations. And so far, from the interviews that I've seen, I haven't seen anyone say that. Maybe people forget. Maybe some people want to. Maybe they don't want to. Maybe they don't know. I don't know. Mainstream media definitely doesn't do it. But even with independent media, I don't see them do it either. And that's something I think I want to see people do more of. The next time you interview someone like Ro Khanna and he starts to name off these things that Biden supposedly did that really helped people, which really did not help us, I want you to mention the CARES Act, because that really is the gotcha. And I haven't seen anyone mention that to him yet.
Cruise ship industry. It gave a $170 billion windfall to the real estate industry. It handed subsidies to private equity firms and lobbying groups whose political action committees gave almost $200 million in campaign contributions to politicians in the last 2 decades. It bailed out the meat industry and corporations that have moved offshore to avoid US taxes. The act.
And something else that I want to add as well, when you think about all of that money that he just mentioned that's donated to politicians, we actually could have ended homelessness here. We can do it. But people continue to give their money to politicians instead. $100 million went to Bernie Sanders. We could have done a lot with that money, especially through mutual aid. But no, people want to donate to politicians because they're still looking for a political savior. There isn't one that exists. It's not out there.
Allowed the largest corporations to gobble up money that was supposed to keep small businesses solvent to pay workers. It gave 80% of tax breaks under the stimulus package to millionaires and allowed the wealthiest to get stimulus checks that averaged $1.7 million.
And see, people don't mention that part either when they mention, oh, he sent out those stimulus checks, that he actually shortchanged us with the stimulus checks. People don't mention that part either that Chris Hedges just mentioned.
The CARES Act also authorized $454 billion for the Treasury Department's Exchange Stabilization Fund, a massive slush fund doled out by Trump cronies to corporations that, when leveraged 10 to 1, can be used to create a staggering $4.5 trillion in assets. The act authorized the Fed to give $1.5 trillion in loans to Wall Street, which no one expects will ever be paid back.
Even after the housing crash in 2008, we're still giving money to Wall Street. We're still bailing out Wall Street. And like he said, they never have to pay the money back.
And American billionaires have gotten $434 billion richer since the pandemic. Jeff Bezos, the richest man in the world, whose corporation Amazon paid no federal taxes last year, alone added over $70 billion to his personal wealth since the pandemic started. And during this same time, 55 million Americans have lost their jobs. The molding of the public into warring factions works commercially.
55 million Americans have lost their jobs. So I want you to remember that when you're listening to CNN, MSNBC, or Fox News, and they tell you the economy is doing great, even though you guys know it's not. You can tell. You see how much money is in your wallet. You're looking at your bank account. You know it's not true. Just remember what he said. 55 million people lost their jobs.
It works politically. It destroys, as it is designed to do, class solidarity, but is also a recipe for social disintegration. It propels us toward the kind of Hobbesian world Primo Levi and Sigmund Freud warned us about. I watched competing ethnic groups in the former Yugoslavia retreat into antagonistic tribes. They seized rival mass media outlets and used them to spew lies, mythological narratives exalting themselves, along with the vitriol and hate against the ethnicities they demonized. This poisoned solidarity, which we are replicating, pumped out month after month in Yugoslavia, destroyed the capacity for empathy, perhaps the best definition of evil, and led to a savage fratricide.
1,000 people watching? Damn, this is okay. This must what happened when Jimmy doesn't go live, huh? Wow. Hit that like button, guys.
The United States, awash in military-grade weaponry, is already plagued by an epidemic of mass shootings. There are death threats against critics of Trump, including Representative Ilhan Omar. There was an aborted plot by 13 members of a right-wing militia group to kidnap and perhaps assassinate the governors of Michigan and Virginia and start a civil war. I'm
going to go ahead and stop it there. It's a long video. It's about 48 minutes and 10 seconds. Eric, can you put the link to this video in the chat if they want to watch the rest of it so other people can see it? But I told you I was going to mention something to you about Social Security, and This is something I want us to pay close attention to, something that Biden's working on that I'm not sure if everyone's aware of this. And thank you to those of you who sent this my way. Now, Joe Biden is looking at Social Security again, and I want to share this with you guys. Joe Biden has picked a longtime Social Security privatizer to oversee Social Security. Joe Biden has nominated right-wing think tank fellow Andrew Biggs to the Social Security Advisory Board. Now, Andrew came from a company called, the think tank is American Enterprise Institute. American Enterprise Institute. What they were trying to do at one point, now he's coming back now and saying something different, but you still need to know about this. What they were trying to do at one time is they were trying to privatize Social Security, which should not happen. I just want to be clear, should not happen. But the question that you should be asking yourself, why is Joe Biden putting someone over the Social Security Advisory Board who's coming from a right-wing think tank that wanted to privatize Social Security? And at the same time, Joe Biden is telling the American people that he wants to expand Social Security. These are the kind of things I want you guys to pay attention to. Now, this goes deeper. I don't have time to go into all of the details tonight, but I want you to know about this, and then maybe I'll dig into this a little bit deeper in the future. Last month, President Joe Biden nominated a longtime advocate of Social Security privatization and benefit cuts to a key board overseeing Social Security system. The move comes as Republicans get ready to push cuts to Social Security and Medicare if they end up winning control of Congress during the November midterms, as expected. Okay, so keep that in mind. The development suggests that there could soon be a coordinated push in Washington to cut the Social Security program, which provides retirement, disability, and survivor benefits to 66 million Americans. And so Biden nominated Andrew Biggs. Again, I told you, he's a fellow at the right-wing American Enterprise Institute. It's a think tank. And again, that think tank, you can look them up, by the way, they wanted to privatize Social Security. So this is a gotcha moment because this is something I want you to pay close attention to. The Democrats are going to try to fearmonger you and say, well, you got to vote for us or otherwise Republicans will win back the House and then they're going to privatize Social Security or they're going to cut Social Security. I want you to come back at them and ask them, okay, but then why is Joe Biden, why did he appoint someone over the Social Security Advisory Board who also wanted to privatize Social Security? A lot of people don't know about this. So when I tell you that both parties are corporate and that both parties protect corporate interests, believe me, they're not that different. Both parties are to the right, not the left. One is further to the right than the other, but they're both to the right. Both of them are trying to screw us over. So remember this, guys, because if Social Security gets cut, I want you to remember what I just told you. They're both playing the same game and they're trying to do it behind our backs, and it's really messed up. It's a problem. Now, I'm going to be on call-in again tonight, guys. That should start around 9:45 or maybe a minute or so later because you guys know how I do. Eric just put the call-in thing there. I'm actually going to go ahead and pin it as well. We're going to talk about Roe v. Wade overturned tonight. And I really want to hear, I know a lot of you guys call in and that's great. I love it. But I really want to hear from some of the women too about this issue and what we should be preparing for. I think we need to start building some type of support groups in our states, in our communities that are going to help women, because this is going to be a problem. Women may have to come to my state, Massachusetts, to get this done. They may have to go to different places depending on what state they live in and what the rule becomes now after this. So I think, again, this goes back to mutual aid and working with people in your community. We need to be there for each other in our community. And this is another example of mutual aid that we could be doing as well. helping women be able to get these types of procedures done in a safe way. So that's going to be another big thing. All right, Eric, you ready? I'm going to take a quick break. And then when I come back, I'll say adios. And then we'll head on over to call.
All right. Excuse me. I have to figure out if I can talk. All right. Let me do a little swapperoo here, a little swapperoo there. All right. It's Friday. This is where Sabby takes a little break. And then she'll be getting into the call-in show, which is starting soon. So yeah, it's maybe not the best Friday, but we can hang out and chill. Yeah, I'm going to read the super chats while Sabby has a break. She'll be back shortly before we jump into call-in. So let's see. All right, in our super chats, we got, thanks for this one from the Vinyl Dreamscape. Legal abortion is ultimately about class. Thanks for that. Leroy, yeah, I saw this one go by. Leroy posted, he'd saying I just left a protest. I honestly left early because 0 politicians were there, but somehow voting was the focus. I'm disgusted. These people are far from ready for revolution. Thanks, Kyle, for the super sticker. Very much. We've got, thanks for this one, Harry, 100,000 UK rail workers on strike, and the UK is at a standstill. Teachers, even nurses may strike. First time ever, and even lawyers now striking too. The government is terrified. Yeah, we'd certainly would love to see some of that here. Thanks for this, AJF. The YouTube title is Univision News, Obama more moderate Republican than socialist, less than a minute long. Yeah, I know that's a video that Jimmy Dore has played several times as well, where Obama comes on and he's just like, yeah, I would be seen as a moderate Republican. How true. From JB, as a Social Security disability beneficiary, Biden is sanctioning me. I'm already struggling with my housing situation, and now he's trying to make my life even worse. And that definitely right on point from Mr. JB. Thanks for that. And we'll hop on over and see what's happening on the old Rockfins, because we always like to try to give some love to the Rockfinners. From Roger Meadows, thanks for this. He's gonna hit something. All right. Dems police are not going to vote for you. Dems police are not going to vote for you. So just stop with cop pandering. Sab, this election will be a referendum on what people care about most. Traditional low-hanging fruit Dem issues like guns and abortions, or securing people's working class economics and general welfare. When they lose, we can hold this up to them and show them what this is, that this is what we and you should have prioritized. Thanks for that, Roger. And thanks for this one from OTR Trucker. Thank you, Sabby Sabs. Thanks for that. And our Miss Sabby Sabs will be back shortly, and then we'll be jumping into the call-in. And this one as well from Mr. Roger Meadows on the Rockfins. Oh, I wish I could get a hold of that information and inform her about ballot initiatives and abolish these parties. Seeing she lives in a ballot initiative state, Nancy said we cannot allow them to take charge. You in charge now. When they try to blame and shame us to vote D, just tell them I'm not a Democrat, so I don't have to vote for your guy. Economics is next. That's what they've been doing all this time in secret while they've been distracting us. On point as usual, Mr. Roger Meadows, and thank you for that. You swap this over here. Yeah, so, of course, I mean, this is certainly a day when it's certainly put in our faces what what's been going on and how this is going, and you know, the Democrats and the Republicans are basically the same. You know, they both just serve big money, and so this idea that that one or the other is the one you should be going for is propaganda. And you know, another thing that occurred to me is that abortion has been effectively already illegal or unattainable in a whole lot of red states for a whole lot of women. And so it's kind of, I don't know, I feel like you have a lot of women or people who kind of have this all of a sudden put in their faces that, you know, oh, they struck down Roe v. Wade. And I just feel like there are people who are like, you know, this affects me now, and they're getting worked up about it, you know. But where were they for all these years that reproductive rights have just been more and more stripped away from all kinds of women in these red states? And yeah, it's kind of, I don't know. I mean, I hate to push on it too hard, but it is kind of gross to have people only jump on this now. And, you know, I guess just, in general, you know, what I've been saying is kind of the things we need to do is we need to be working on what are our demands. You know, what are the things that are really going to tell you where people stand, and it really it tends to come down to the money, you know. And they both work for the same money interest, and we have to figure out ways to keep that in focus, and not let them distract us, not let them say, you know, oh, we have to vote blue, or the big Republican monster is going to come in, because I mean they're both, you know, just so much the same. And this idea that one is so different from the other, or so much better than the other, is propaganda. And it's I'm going to try to bring up a Caitlin Johnstone here. That was Sabby's back. All right, well, we're good then.
Yeah, I'm going to start open the room in 2 minutes, but I got a huge announcement that I don't want to forget to tell you guys about. I told you guys that I have a special guest coming on Sunday night. I don't usually stream on Sunday, but this is a special guest. So Sunday night, Shama Sawant will be here. I'm super excited. I'm going to interview her, and this is a great timing because I know she just announced today that she's trying to put something together for women, some type of safe haven for women in Washington State or Seattle specifically, so that they can still get safe abortion. So Sunday night, 7 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, I'll be here. Shama will be here. Really looking forward to that interview. And also remember, sign up for my newsletter, you guys. If you're not signed up, that's how you get my live stream alerts. You can't really rely on YouTube. I'm just keeping it real. So I'll go ahead and put that in the chat as well. So you have that link. The call-in room link is pinned to the top of the chat. I replaced it with the other pin that was there, but I just put in my newsletter link. Hit that like button if you didn't get a chance to. Thanks all of you for tuning in, you guys. I don't know how in the hell I broke over 1,000 viewers tonight. I must have hit something with the algorithm, like for once, but definitely come on over to call-in, guys. I'm about to go ahead and open up the room. In fact, I'll go ahead and do it now, so I don't get distracted, which happens in my life. Doobie-doobie-doo. Okay, Roe v. Wade officially overturned. Go live. Public. Start the room. Okay, so I just opened up the room. See if it shows me people here. I see people joining, but for whatever reason, I can't see their faces. Oh, I see it now. Okay. All right, all right, all right. Would love to get some women in the chat tonight as well. But definitely come on over to call in, guys. Have a great weekend. Come back Sunday night. I'll be here with Shama Sawant. And other than that, have a good night, guys, and keep up the fight.